The woman in the designer sunglasses walked straight through my gate like she owned the place. My daughter's birthday cake sat untouched on the table while this stranger barked orders at terrified 7-year-olds. I felt my phone vibrate with a notification from the security system. 4 cameras, every angle, every word. She had no idea what was about to hit her. By the time the police arrived, Karen's entire world would be uploaded, time-stamped, and completely indefensible. Melissa Hart stood in her backyard at 6 in the morning, watching the sun climb over the fence line. The pool sparkled under fresh chlorine treatment. Rainbow streamers twisted between the patio posts. A banner reading, "Happy 7th Birthday, Sophie," hung perfectly level above the sliding glass door. She had spent 3 weeks planning this party. Every detail mattered. Sophie had asked for a mermaid theme, so Melissa had ordered custom invitations shaped like shells, found a vendor who made ocean-themed cookies, and even hired a face painter who specialized in scales and fins. The guest list held 12 names, 12 little girls from Sophie's second-grade class plus their parents, manageable, contained, safe. Melissa checked her watch, 11 hours until party time. She walked the perimeter of the yard one more time, mentally cataloging everything. The bounce house company would arrive at 3, the caterer at 4, face painter at 4:30, guests at 5. Her husband Daniel emerged from the house carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one and surveyed the setup with an appreciative nod. "You've outdone yourself," he said. "Sophie deserves it," Melissa sipped the coffee, "after the year she's had." Daniel's expression softened. They both knew what she meant. Sophie had struggled through second grade. The transition from their old neighborhood had been harder than expected. New school, new friends, new everything. This party represented more than just a birthday. It was Sophie's chance to solidify the fragile friendships she had built over the past 10 months, to feel like she belonged. "The cameras are all working?" Melissa asked. Daniel pulled out his phone and opened the security app. 4 camera feeds displayed in a grid: front door, driveway, backyard facing the pool, backyard facing the patio. "All green," he confirmed. "Motion detection active, cloud backup running." They had installed the system 6 months ago after a string of package thefts in the neighborhood. The cameras had already paid for themselves twice over, catching a would-be burglar and documenting a fender bender that happened in front of their house. Melissa didn't think twice about the cameras anymore. They were just part of the background, silent observers that made life slightly safer. "Sophie still sleeping?" Daniel asked. "Out cold. I'll wake her at 8 for pancakes." They stood together in the quiet morning, coffee steam rising between them. The day stretched ahead with perfect possibility. Neither of them imagined how badly it would derail. Sophie woke at 7:45 on her own, too excited to sleep. She burst into her parents' bedroom with wild hair and bright eyes. "Is it time? Can we start decorating? When are my friends coming?" Melissa laughed and pulled her daughter into bed between her and Daniel. "Pancakes first, then you can help me with the final touches." They ate breakfast on the patio while Sophie chattered about everything she hoped would happen. She wanted to show Emma her new diving board skills. She wanted to make sure Olivia got the purple mermaid tail from the party favor bags. She wanted the face painter to give her the most elaborate design possible. "What if it rains?" Sophie asked suddenly, her expression clouding. Melissa pointed at the impossibly blue sky. "Not a chance. Perfect weather all day." "What if nobody comes?" "Everyone RSVP'd yes, they're all coming." "What if they don't like the food?" Daniel reached over and ruffled Sophie's hair. "Kiddo, it's going to be perfect. Your mom has planned everything down to the minute." Sophie seemed to accept this. She finished her pancakes and ran inside to change into her new swimsuit, a turquoise one-piece covered in sequin scales. The morning passed in a blur of activity. The bounce house arrived on schedule and inflated near the back fence. The caterer dropped off trays of food at 4 sharp. The face painter set up her station at the patio table with military precision. By 4:45, everything was ready. Melissa stood at the kitchen window, watching Sophie practice cannonballs into the deep end. Her daughter's laughter carried across the yard, pure and unself-conscious. Daniel came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "You did good." "We did good," Melissa corrected. The doorbell rang at 4:58. The first guests had arrived. Emma Chen and her mother Linda were first through the door. Emma carried a wrapped present nearly as big as she was. She and Sophie immediately ran toward the pool, their squeals of delight echoing off the water. Linda handed Melissa a bottle of wine. "For later, when you've survived 12 7-year-olds. "I'm counting on it," Melissa said. More families arrived in quick succession. Olivia Martinez with her father Carlos, the Patterson twins with both parents, Ava Johnson with her grandmother. Each arrival brought another burst of energy into the backyard. By 5:15, 11 of the 12 invited guests had checked in. Melissa did a mental head count. Only Madison Walker was missing. Madison's mother Rachel had texted that morning confirming they would be there, so Melissa wasn't worried. The party hit its stride quickly. Kids splashed in the pool under adult supervision. The face painter worked through her cue with practiced efficiency. Daniel manned the grill, producing hot dogs and hamburgers at a steady pace. Melissa circulated through the yard, making sure everyone had drinks, that the music wasn't too loud, that no one felt left out. This was her element. She was good at creating spaces where people felt welcome. At 5:45, the doorbell rang again. Melissa excused herself from a conversation with Carlos about summer camp options and headed inside. Through the front door's frosted glass, she could see a silhouette. Tall, alone. She opened the door with a smile ready. The smile froze. A woman stood on the porch, mid-40s, shoulder-length blonde hair styled in aggressive layers, designer sunglasses despite the late afternoon shade, white capri pants, a silk blouse that probably cost more than Melissa's entire party budget. Melissa had never seen her before in her life. "Can I help you?" Melissa asked. The woman looked past Melissa into the house. "I'm here for the party." "I'm sorry, I think there's been a mistake. This is a private birthday party, invitation only." The woman's mouth tightened. "My daughter Madison was invited. I'm Corinne Walker, Rachel's sister." Understanding clicked into place. Rachel had mentioned her sister might do the drop-off if she got held up at work, but something felt off about the way this woman stood, the aggressive set of her shoulders, the dismissive tone. "Of course," Melissa said, trying to keep her voice warm, "but I don't see Madison." Corinne waved a hand vaguely toward the street. "She's coming. I wanted to check out the setup first, make sure it's appropriate." The words hit Melissa like a slap. "Excuse me. Rachel told me it was a pool party. I need to verify the safety measures, depth markers, life vests, supervision ratios." Melissa felt heat creep up her neck. She had hosted dozens of pool parties. She and Daniel were both certified in CPR. They had a lockable pool fence. They maintained strict supervision rules. "Everything is completely safe," Melissa said evenly. "We have multiple adults watching the pool at all times." Corinne pushed past Melissa into the house, without waiting for an invitation. "Wait," Melissa said, "you can't just—" But Corinne was already walking through the living room toward the sliding glass door. Her heels clicked authoritatively on the hardwood. Melissa hurried after her, anger and confusion warring in her chest. This woman had no right to barge into her home, but she was also Madison's aunt, and Melissa didn't want to create a scene that might embarrass the little girl. Corinne stepped onto the patio and surveyed the backyard like a general inspecting troops. Her lips pursed in obvious disapproval. Daniel noticed Corinne immediately. He set down his grilling tongs and crossed the patio to stand beside Melissa. "Who's this?" he asked quietly. "Corinne Walker, Madison's aunt. She wanted to check the safety setup." Daniel's eyebrows rose, but he extended a hand politely. "Daniel Hart, welcome." Corinne ignored the hand. She pointed at the pool. "How deep is the deep end?" 8 feet, Daniel answered, "clearly marked, and we have." 8 feet. Corinne's voice rose sharp and loud enough to make several nearby parents turn. "That's completely inappropriate for children this age." Melissa felt her jaw clench. "The kids are only in the shallow end, 3.5 feet. We've been very clear about the pool rules." "And who decided 3.5 feet was safe? What are your qualifications?" The patio had gone quiet. Kids still splashed in the pool, but every adult in the vicinity was now watching the confrontation unfold. Linda Chen stepped closer, concern on her face. "Is everything okay?" Corinne turned her disapproval on Linda. "Are you comfortable with these conditions? No lifeguard, inadequate supervision, children practically unsupervised." Linda looked confused. "There are 8 adults watching 12 kids. That seems pretty supervised to me." "In a pool with an 8-foot deep end," Corinne shot back. "One child could drown while everyone's attention is elsewhere." Carlos joined the group. "We've been here almost an hour. The supervision has been excellent. I don't see what the problem is." Corinne's expression hardened. "The problem is that no one seems to take child safety seriously except me. Where are the life vests? Where are the posted emergency procedures? Where is the emergency contact information for each child?" Melissa felt her face flush. "This is a birthday party, not a day-care facility. Every parent here has their own phone. We all have emergency contacts." "Unacceptable." Corinne pulled out her own phone. "I'm documenting these violations. This party should be shut down immediately." She started taking photos. The pool, the patio, the kids in the water. Daniel stepped forward, his voice firm but controlled. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to stop taking pictures of other people's children without permission." Corinne lowered her phone but didn't put it away. "I'm protecting these children. Someone has to." "From what?" Melissa demanded. "From having fun at a supervised birthday party. From negligent parents who prioritize Pinterest aesthetics over actual safety." The insult landed like a physical blow. Melissa had spent weeks planning this party. She had lost sleep over details. She had checked and rechecked every safety measure. And this stranger, this woman who had barged uninvited into her home, was calling her negligent. "Get out," Melissa said quietly. Corinne's eyebrows rose above her sunglasses. "What?" "Get out of my house, now. I have every right to ensure my niece's safety." "Your niece isn't even here yet. And when she arrives, you can explain to Rachel why Madison missed the party because you decided to insult the hosts." Corinne's face flushed red. "How dare you? I'm trying to help." "You're being incredibly rude," Linda interjected. "These are good people throwing a wonderful party for their daughter. If you can't be respectful, you should leave." Several other parents murmured agreement. Corinne looked around at the circle of disapproving faces. For a moment, Melissa thought she might actually leave. Instead, Corinne did something far worse. She walked straight to the edge of the pool and blew a whistle she pulled from her pocket. The shrill sound cut through the afternoon air. Kids stopped mid-splash. Adults froze. "Everybody out of the pool," Corinne shouted. "This party is unsafe and it's being shut down immediately." Chaos erupted. Kids started climbing out of the pool, confused and scared by the authoritative tone. Some of them were crying. Sophie stood in the shallow end, her face crumpling as she watched her party dissolve. Melissa moved before she could think. She grabbed Corinne's arm and spun her around. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Corinne yanked her arm free. "Someone has to take responsibility. since you clearly won't." Daniel was already trying to calm the children, telling them everything was fine, they could get back in the water. But the damage was done. The festive atmosphere had shattered. Several parents had pulled out their phones, some calling their spouses, others filming the confrontation. Karen turned to address the gathered adults. "I strongly recommend you remove your children from this environment immediately. The liability exposure here is enormous." "The only liability here is you trespassing," Carlos said sharply. "Lady, you need to leave before someone calls the cops." "Call them," Karen said. "I welcome it. They'll see exactly what I'm talking about." Melissa felt something snap inside her chest. This woman had destroyed her daughter's birthday party. Sophie was openly sobbing now, held by the face painter who had abandoned her station to comfort the crying child. "Daniel," Melissa said, her voice shaking with rage, "call the police." Daniel already had his phone out. On it. Karen laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Good, let them document this disaster." "Oh, they'll document something," Linda said coldly. "Like how you broke into someone's home, disrupted a private party, and caused a scene in front of children. That's harassment at minimum." "I was invited." "You absolutely were not," Melissa said. "Your sister was supposed to drop off Madison, that's it. You had no invitation, no permission, and no right to be here." More parents had gathered now, forming a protective circle around Melissa and Daniel. The mood had shifted from confusion to anger. These were neighbors and friends who had watched Melissa prepare for weeks. They had seen Sophie's excitement. They had been enjoying a perfectly pleasant party until Karen arrived. Karen seemed to sense the hostile energy. She backed up a step, her confidence faltering slightly. "I was protecting children," she said again, but the words sounded weaker now. "No," Melissa said. "You were feeding your own ego, making yourself feel important by tearing down someone else's hard work." Sophie appeared at Melissa's side, still crying. She clutched her mother's leg and buried her face against Melissa's hip. The sight of her daughter's misery made Melissa's vision blur with tears. This was supposed to be Sophie's special day, the day she felt celebrated and included and loved. Instead, a stranger had turned it into a nightmare. "Mommy, why is she being mean?" Sophie asked through her sobs. Karen's expression flickered with something that might have been shame, but it vanished quickly, replaced by defensive anger. "I'm not mean, I'm responsible. Your mother should thank me." "Get away from my daughter," Melissa said with deadly quiet. Daniel stepped between Karen and Sophie. "The police are 5 minutes out. You can wait by the front door or you can leave now. Your choice." Karen hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. Then a car door slammed in the driveway. Rachel Walker came running around the side of the house, Madison trailing behind her. Rachel's face was flushed, her expression panicked. "Karen, what are you doing here? You were supposed to just drop Madison off and leave." Karen turned to her sister with obvious relief. "Rachel, thank God, you need to see what's happening here. This party is completely unsafe. The pool depth, the lack of proper supervision." "Stop," Rachel held up a hand. "Just stop." She looked around at the assembled parents, at the crying children, at the wreckage of what had clearly been a happy party. "Did you blow a whistle?" Rachel asked quietly. Karen hesitated. The situation required intervention. "Oh my God!" Rachel covered her face with her hands. You promised you wouldn't do this anymore." "Do what?" Karen demanded. "Care about child safety. Sabotage other people's events because you think you know better than everyone else." The words hung in the air. Melissa watched Rachel's face, saw genuine mortification there. Whatever Karen's issues were, Rachel had dealt with them before. "I am so sorry," Rachel said to Melissa and Daniel. "My sister has a condition. She's supposed to be in therapy. She's not supposed to be around situations like this." A condition, Melissa echoed. Obsessive interference disorder. It manifests as compulsive need to control environments she perceives as chaotic or unsafe, even when they're not. Corinne's face went scarlet. Rachel, you can't just tell strangers my diagnosis. You just ruined a child's birthday party. I think they deserve an explanation. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Corinne's eyes widened. You actually called the police. You trespassed, harassed us, and terrorized children at a private event, Daniel said flatly. Yeah, we called the police. 2 squad cars pulled up to the curb. 4 officers got out and approached the backyard through the open side gate. The lead officer, a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and no-nonsense posture, surveyed the scene quickly. Someone called about a disturbance. That would be us, Melissa said. She pointed at Corinne. This woman entered our home without permission, disrupted our daughter's birthday party, and refused to leave when asked. The officer turned to Corinne. Is this accurate? Corinne drew herself up. I was ensuring child safety. This pool is a hazard. The pool is perfectly legal and properly maintained, Daniel interjected. We have all the permits and safety equipment required by law. The officer looked at Corinne more carefully. Ma'am, do you have any official capacity here? Are you a building inspector, child services? I'm a concerned citizen. So no official capacity. The officer's tone cooled. Did the homeowners invite you onto the property? Corinne faltered. My niece was invited to the party. Rachel stepped forward. Officer, I'm Corinne's sister. My daughter Madison was invited. I asked Corinne to drop her off because I was running late. She was not invited to stay. She was supposed to leave immediately. The officer nodded, putting the pieces together. So you entered the property under false pretenses, caused a disturbance, and refused to leave when asked. I was protecting children. From a supervised birthday party. The officer looked around at the clearly safe setup, the multiple responsible adults, the now calm children who had returned to playing. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see your ID. Corinne reluctantly pulled out her driver's license. The officer examined it, then walked a few feet away to run it through her radio. The other 3 officers stayed close, creating a casual but clear barrier between Corinne and everyone else. Melissa felt Daniel's hand find hers. Sophie had stopped crying and was watching the scene with wide eyes. Is the mean lady going to jail? Sophie whispered. I don't know, sweetie, Melissa said honestly. The lead officer returned. Her expression had hardened. Ms. Walker, you have 2 prior incidents of trespassing on file. One at a school playground, one at a community pool. Both times you were asked to leave and refused. Rachel closed her eyes, clearly hearing this for the first time. Those were different, Corinne protested. Those situations were actually dangerous. According to the reports, both situations were properly supervised public facilities. You were removed both times for causing disturbances. The officer put away her notepad. Ms. Walker, you're being charged with trespassing. You need to come with us. You can't arrest me for trying to protect children. I can arrest you for entering private property without permission and refusing to leave when asked. That's textbook trespassing. 2 officers moved to flank Corinne. She looked around wildly as if searching for support, but even Rachel had stepped away, shaking her head. This is insane, Corinne said, but her voice had lost its authority. She sounded scared now. You have the right to remain silent, the officer began. They handcuffed Corinne with professional efficiency. She didn't resist, but she kept talking, trying to explain, to justify, to make someone understand why she had been right to do what she did. No one was listening anymore. As the officers led Corinne away, Rachel approached Melissa with tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she would do something like this. She told me she was doing better. I should never have asked her to help. Melissa wanted to be angry. Part of her was. But looking at Rachel's genuine distress, at little Madison standing confused by her mother's side, she felt the rage drain away into exhaustion. "It's not your fault," Melissa said. "You couldn't have known. Is there anything I can do to fix this, to make it up to Sophie?" Melissa looked at her daughter. Sophie had rejoined her friends by the pool, though the party had lost its earlier energy. Kids talked in subdued voices. Parents checked their watches, clearly wondering if they should leave. "Help me save this party," Melissa said. "Help me give Sophie the birthday she deserves." Rachel nodded through her tears. "Anything." It took 20 minutes to rebuild the atmosphere. Rachel worked tirelessly, helping to re-engage the kids, encouraging the face painter to start her work again, chatting with parents to reassure them that the drama was over. Madison, shy and mortified by her aunt's behavior, attached herself to Sophie. The two girls whispered by the pool edge, and gradually Sophie's smile returned. Daniel restarted the music. Linda distributed party favors early to give the kids something new to focus on. Carlos organized a water balloon toss that got everyone laughing again. By 6:30, the party had found its second wind. Not the carefree joy of the early hour, but something deeper and more resilient. The kids had weathered something weird and scary together, and coming through it had created a strange bond. Melissa stood by the patio door, watching her daughter cannonball into the pool while her friends cheered. Sophie's laughter rang out clear and bright. Daniel appeared beside her with a glass of wine. "Courtesy of Linda," she said. "You earned it." Melissa accepted the glass gratefully and took a long sip. Her hands were still shaking slightly from the adrenaline crash. "Do you think Sophie will remember the party for the good parts or the bad parts?" she asked. Daniel considered this. "I think she'll remember that something bad happened and everyone worked together to fix it, that her friends and their parents all stood up for her. That's not a bad lesson." "I wanted it to be perfect." "It was real. That's better than perfect." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the party continue around them. The sun hung low over the fence, painting everything in golden light. At 7 o'clock, Melissa gathered the kids for cake. Sophie stood in front of the mermaid-themed masterpiece while everyone sang. She blew out the candles with such force that the tablecloth fluttered. The kids devoured the cake. Parents started collecting their children around 7:30, thanking Melissa and Daniel profusely, promising that their kids had a wonderful time despite the disruption. By 8 o'clock, only Rachel and Madison remained. Sophie and Madison had become inseparable over the past few hours. Their earlier shyness evaporated. They splashed in the shallow end while the adults cleaned up around them. Rachel had been invaluable, helping pack up decorations, washing dishes, breaking down the face painting station. She had barely stopped moving, as if physical labor could atone for her sister's behavior. "You don't have to keep helping," Melissa said gently. "We've got this." Rachel paused in the middle of folding a tablecloth. "I know I don't have to, but I want to, I need to. What Karen did wasn't your responsibility. She's my sister. I asked her to help. I put her in this situation even though I knew she struggles with control issues." Rachel's voice cracked. Madison was so excited about this party, and now it's going to be tied to the memory of her aunt being arrested. Melissa set down the trash bag she was holding and faced Rachel directly. "Madison had a great time. Look at her." They both turned to watch the two girls giggling in the water. Madison's face was bright with happiness. "Kids are resilient," Melissa continued. And Sophie specifically asked if Madison could stay later because they're having so much fun. "Whatever your sister did, it didn't ruin things for them." Rachel wiped her eyes. "You're very kind. Most people would have kicked us out immediately." "You're not your sister." Daniel came out carrying leftovers in containers. "Rachel, please take some of this food. We have way too much." Rachel accepted the containers with a grateful smile. Then she hesitated, clearly working up to something difficult. "Can I ask what you're going to do? About Corinne, I mean. Are you pressing charges?" Melissa exchanged a look with Daniel. They hadn't discussed it yet, caught up in salvaging the party. "I don't know," Melissa admitted. "Part of me wants to throw the book at her. She traumatized my daughter and destroyed something we worked hard to create. I understand completely. But another part of me thinks maybe she needs help more than punishment. You said she has a diagnosis." Rachel nodded. "Obsessive interference disorder. It's a subset of OCD. She becomes fixated on perceived dangers and can't rest until she's intervened, even when intervention isn't appropriate or wanted. It's ruined her relationships, cost her jobs. She's been in therapy on and off for years." "Is she taking medication?" "She's supposed to be, but she stops when she starts feeling better. She thinks she has it under control, and then something triggers her and it all spirals again." Melissa thought about the woman she had seen tonight. The aggressive certainty, the refusal to see reason, the genuine belief that she was helping. Mental illness didn't excuse bad behavior, but it might explain it. "I need to think about it," Melissa said finally. "Talk to Sophie. See how she's processing everything. Then Daniel and I will decide." "That's more than fair," Rachel said. "Whatever you decide, we'll understand." At 8:30, Rachel called Madison out of the pool. The little girl protested until Sophie hugged her goodbye and promised they could have a playdate soon. As Rachel and Madison left, Rachel turned back one more time. "Thank you," she said simply, "for being decent people." When they were gone, Melissa and Daniel finished cleaning in comfortable silence. Sophie had gone inside to shower and change, exhausted but happy. Daniel locked the pool gate and checked the security cameras out of habit. The 4 feeds showed a quiet, dark backyard, everything peaceful now. "You know those cameras recorded everything, right?" he said. Melissa paused in the middle of stacking chairs. "I hadn't thought about it." "Every word, every action, from the moment Corinne walked into frame." They looked at each other, both realizing the implications. "Should we watch it?" Melissa asked. "Not tonight. Tonight we focus on Sophie and making sure she's okay." They found their daughter in her bedroom, wrapped in a fluffy towel, staring at the pile of presents in the corner. "Can I open them now?" Sophie asked. "Absolutely," Melissa said. They sat on the floor while Sophie tore through wrapping paper. Books, art supplies, mermaid-themed everything. With each gift, Sophie's smile grew wider, the earlier trauma fading. When the last present was unwrapped, Sophie threw her arms around Melissa. "Best birthday ever," she said. Melissa's throat tightened, even with the mean lady. "Even with, because everyone was so nice after, and Madison became my friend, and you and Daddy protected me." She said it so simply, with such complete faith. Everyone had protected her. That's what Sophie would remember. Daniel caught Melissa's eye over their daughter's head. His expression said everything. They had done their job. They had kept their child safe and happy despite someone's best efforts to ruin things. After Sophie went to sleep, Melissa and Daniel collapsed on the couch with the remainder of Linda's wine. "What a day," Daniel said. "What a day," Melissa agreed. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Melissa said, "I want to watch the footage." Daniel raised his eyebrows. "Tonight. I need to see it, to process it, to understand what actually happened versus what I remember in the chaos." Daniel pulled out his phone and opened the security app. "Backyard camera. All of them. I want the complete picture." They started with the front door camera, watching Corinne's arrival. The footage was eerily clear, every word audible. Melissa watched her own face on screen as she opened the door, watched herself try to be polite, professional, accommodating, watched Corinne push past her without permission. You were so calm, Daniel observed. I was terrified of making a scene. They switched to the backyard cameras. The footage showed Karen's entire tirade from multiple angles. Her pointed fingers, her raised voice, her whistle blow. But it also showed something Melissa hadn't fully registered in the moment. The other parents' faces, the immediate protective instinct, the way they had surrounded Melissa and Daniel without being asked, the way they had stood between Karen and the children. Look at Linda, Daniel said, pointing. She stepped in front of Emma before Emma even knew something was wrong. Carlos, too. He had his phone out filming before Karen blew that whistle. They watched the police arrival, watched Karen's arrest from 3 different angles. The footage was damning. Karen had clearly trespassed, clearly refused to leave, clearly caused a disturbance. When the video ended, they sat in silence. That's strong evidence, Daniel said carefully, if we wanted to pursue charges. Or if we wanted to make sure she gets actual help, Melissa countered. We could share it with her therapist, show them what happens when she's in an episode. We could do both. Melissa leaned her head against Daniel's shoulder. I don't want to be vindictive, but I also don't want her doing this to someone else's family. Sleep on it, decide tomorrow. But Melissa knew she wouldn't sleep much. Her mind was already racing through possibilities, consequences, what-ifs. Sophie's voice drifted from her bedroom. Mom, Dad, can you check for monsters? They went together, checking under the bed and in the closet with exaggerated thoroughness until Sophie giggled. Melissa tucked her daughter in, smoothing the hair back from her forehead. I'm proud of you, Melissa whispered. You were so brave today. The lady was scary, Sophie admitted, but you and Daddy made her leave. We'll always protect you. I know. Such simple faith, such complete trust. Melissa kissed her daughter's forehead and left the room with fresh resolve. She knew what she needed to do. The next morning, Melissa called the police station before breakfast. The officer who answered connected her to the lead officer from the night before. Officer Martinez remembered her immediately. Ms. Hart, I was planning to call you today. How's your daughter? She's fine, resilient. She's already asking about the next playdate. Kids are tougher than we think. Papers rustled in the background. I'm calling about Ms. Walker's case. You'll need to decide if you want to press charges. Right now she's only facing the trespassing from last night, but if you want to pursue harassment or disturbing the peace, we can add those. Melissa took a breath. I'd like to press charges, but with a condition. What kind of condition? I want mandatory mental health evaluation and treatment included in whatever plea deal or sentence she gets. Her sister told me about her diagnosis. I don't think jail time alone will fix this. Officer Martinez was quiet for a moment. That's compassionate of you, given what she put you through. I'm not being compassionate for her sake. I'm doing it so she doesn't terrorize some other family 6 months from now. Fair enough. I'll note your request. The DA will be in touch about next steps. There's one more thing. We have security camera footage of the entire incident. Multiple angles. Everything she said and did. That could be very useful. Can you send that to us? I will, but I also want to send it to her therapist if she has one, with her sister's permission. Officer Martinez hummed thoughtfully. That would require Ms. Walker's consent, technically, medical privacy laws. But if her sister has medical power of attorney or if Ms. Walker agrees, then yes, that would be valuable for her treatment. After hanging up, Melissa called Rachel. The conversation was difficult but necessary. Rachel was grateful for Melissa's approach and promised to talk to Karen about sharing the footage with her treatment team. By lunchtime, the video files were sent to the police department and queued for Rachel to forward to Karen's doctors. Melissa felt lighter. She had done what she could to seek justice while also pushing for treatment that might actually change Karen's behavior. Daniel found her in the home office, staring at the empty video player on her computer. "It's done," he asked. "It's done. How do you feel?" "Like I'm doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, and the wrong thing for the right reasons simultaneously." Daniel laughed. "That's parenthood in a nutshell." They spent the rest of Saturday in quiet domesticity. Sophie built elaborate structures with her new Lego set. Daniel worked in the garden. Melissa caught up on laundry.